It doesn't mean it has to be hard or difficult or a struggle, right? Doing our work, we can flow with that. And that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to be talking about faith and the creative process, because both of those things are intrinsic to what we do next, that next thing we do, because through both of those things, we expand the good that's in our life. And all of the good in our life, it comes through us. It comes through us and into our life. So we all know about faith, right? Faith, it's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. But in an earlier translation of the Bible, okay, before the King James Version, this verse has a little more sustenance to it. So I'm going to read it to you, okay? This is from the Lamsa Tradition Bible. Hebrews 11, verse 1 and 3. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, as it was the substance of things which have come to pass. And it is the evidence of things not seen. For it is through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen came to be from those which are not seen. So faith, it is the substance of things hoped for. We frame it in our imagination first, and we're basically planting it as a seed in creative substance, in the divine mind. Or if you want to call it, you can call it the field, right? It's the quantum field. Science is naming this now. So first of all, we're creating something in our imagination, and we're planting it in the substance that will nurture it as long as we keep pouring our energy and imagination to it. Okay, so then there's the process of, there's a process to manifestation, to creating a new experience in our life. The verse goes on to say, for it is through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God. The word of God means intention and activity. That's what the word means, intention and activity. So even the things, everything that is seen, it came to be from that which is unseen, which is pure source energy. But what that means is that everything in existence, it was once just an idea. Okay, each of us, we're an idea in divine mind made manifest, right? So that's that substance. So with faith, we know that we can draw our good from the world of the unseen and into the seen. And then we strengthen our faith by practicing it, by exercising it. Like we strengthen anything, right? We keep practicing. And so the first step in faith is embodying courage to do something that we know is right outside of our comfort zone. We don't need faith to do something really easy that we do all the time that's in our comfort zone. We don't need faith for that. We just do it. It's when we're going to do something different that we need the faith. So because we need to step into courage, it doesn't mean that we don't have enough faith, right? We don't have to be fearless to be able to say we're filled with faith. Becoming fearless, it just comes through the process of doing something over and over and over again, right? The first time we try new things or decide to step out of our comfort zone, if there's not downright fear around it, there might be nervousness about it. Okay, but that doesn't mean that we don't have faith. If we're fearless, it just means we're probably doing something we're already pretty good at. Okay, so we embody courage, and that helps us to practice faith. And then we want a process. Okay, a process is a very powerful thing to work with. When we have a process to put our faith into something, then it's like having a beautiful blueprint. And a process, we have processes for all kinds of things. If you wanted to make, okay, my mom gave me this recipe for carrot cake like 25 years ago. I had never made a cake from scratch. And she gave me a recipe for the hardest possible cake, I think, to make, except I don't know, maybe a baked Alaska. But I followed the recipe step by step. And it had things in it that I wouldn't have dreamed of. Like you put real carrots in a carrot cake, okay? Which back then I was so young, I couldn't imagine putting a vegetable in a cake. But you follow the process and you get then what you intended to get. I got a carrot cake because that was my intention, and I followed the process to make a carrot cake. All right, so this is why I love that there is a creative process too, a creative process for us to create any kind of new experience in our life. It doesn't have to be a big radical change in our life. It's just something new that we do, that our soul loves. Our soul loves new experiences. So the creative process is just a blueprint, but it's a blueprint for us to expand our consciousness. Okay, so I want to just explain expanding our consciousness, because it doesn't mean like that we have to become enlightened or anything. Expanding our consciousness just means we're creating new experiences. That's all. We're creating new experiences. Now, right now, in this life we're living right now, we've created this life up to this moment through our current level of consciousness. Now, when we decide to start expanding our consciousness, we basically are creating a new version of ourselves. We're upgrading ourselves from ourself now to us 2.0. Okay, just by doing something new. Just by doing something new. And that, again, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. I know somebody who is suddenly, like, she didn't imagine she would be doing this, but she's sewing face masks, like sewing so many of them and using like a lot of fun patterns, right? I know somebody who decided to learn an instrument, to learn a foreign language. If we get a college degree or just a certificate in something, maybe join an online program to learn about baking. I mean, all of those things change us. They change our consciousness, because in this moment, we're the person who doesn't know how to sew, doesn't know how to bake, doesn't know how to play an instrument, doesn't know how to speak that foreign language. We commit to that process of learning that, and then we've just upgraded ourselves. So we go from the person who doesn't know how to do that to the person who now can cook anything, can speak a foreign language, can play an instrument, okay, can sew face masks, can sew anything. Okay, that's how we expand our consciousness. We're simply learning a new thing, and we become a person who, instead of not having that thing in our life right now, we change ourselves, we shift our perception, we learn something new, and now our life includes the new thing. I've known people who've gone from not being a gardener to being a gardener. Okay, that's a shift in consciousness. So we don't have to like be ourselves and then be the Buddha or be the Christ. Okay, we're shifting our consciousness all the time. Okay, so consciousness, it just expands us to include something new in our life. Okay, we're just including something new. I've expanded my consciousness by learning how to use Zoom. Okay, that was my thing I did recently. So these last 6 weeks. Now, the creative process, as a spiritual, study, there have been a lot of wonderful new thought influencers who've talked about a creative process of one kind or another. They're all very similar. But I'm just going to rattle off a few quick authors who have written about the creative process that I have read, starting from the first person who wrote it to the most recent. Wallace Wattles, Thomas Troward, Napoleon Hill, Charles Fillmore, Ernest Holmes, Emmett Fox. And these guys are from the early 1900s, right, or the mid 1900s. But we also have like new influencers who've been around like maybe 20 years or a little more. Tony Robbins, Mark Allen, the founder of New World Library. And they publish a lot of new age and new thought, spiritual kind of texts. So those are all amazing processes. All of them they're similar. Some of them have a few different things in them, but they all give us a process, a blueprint for creating any kind of new thing in our life. So I'm just going to talk today about what I consider the original creative process. And it's a pretty old one. And if you know one that's older than this, I want you to let me know, because I'm going to want to read it. Okay, but this creative process was put forth by teacher Jesus. Okay, Jesus the Christ, in his ask and it is given, okay, speech. What he said was, and this is from an earlier translation than the typical King James Bible. This is actually comes from the Nag Hammadi library, but it is in the new Bible too. He says, all things you ask straightly, directly, you will be given. So far, you've asked nothing. Ask without hidden motive. Be surrounded by your answer. Be enveloped by your desire, that your gladness be full. What a nice set of instructions, right? Those are pretty clear. So he says, first of all things you ask straightly, directly, you'll be given. We just have to ask for it. But you know, it's funny how often we don't ask for what we really want. We may ask for something we think we can manage. We ask for something that we're pretty certain we could create it. We ask for something that's in our comfort zone, that we've already done it, okay? And there's nothing wrong with doing things in our comfort zone, not at all. But we don't want to spend all of our time there. Okay, so sometimes we don't ask for what we really want because we think it's too big and we don't believe that we could do it. So we ask for something we think we could handle. But Jesus just said, ask for what you want. Okay, he didn't say anything about putting limitations on it. He didn't say, ask for what you want. That'll be easy and you don't have to, do anything new. He didn't say that. He said, ask for what you want. All we do, this step is only about thinking about what we would love. What would we love? We don't think yet about how we'll make it happen. Okay, don't even factor that into this yet. How will I make this happen? This step is only what would I love? And this is what I would love. Okay, then he says, so far you've asked nothing. So far you have asked nothing. I went through a period of time a few years ago where I finally figured out, I keep asking the question, why isn't anything new happening for me? Why aren't I creating some new experience? And I realized I was not actually asking for anything. I felt like the best example I can share is I felt like I was starving and I walked into a restaurant and I sat down at a table and the waiter gave me the menu, and on the menu were all of these choices, anything on this menu I could ask for, and they all looked so good. And I'm sitting in the restaurant and I can smell how good the food smells. I mean, it smells amazing. And I can see people around me all in the different phases of their meal. Some people are just starting their meal, and some people are in the middle of enjoying a delicious meal and having that great conversation. And some people are wrapping up their meal and there's that satisfied feeling. But I sat there just thinking about how hungry I was, but not placing an order. I didn't just pick something, right? I just needed to pick something. Now, there's no intention being set if we're not picking something. Pick anything. When we set an intention, that gives our energy something to follow. And then we have an energy wave to follow. But we have to pick something, right? We pick something and that creates the wave to follow. I was swimming in a sea of possibilities, not picking anything. And if you're in the middle of the ocean, there are waves all around you. There's not one particular wave really that's going to carry you to that thing you want. There are waves all around you, just kind of randomly carrying you wherever. So we just need to pick something. Okay, Jesus says that so far you've asked for nothing. We need to pick something. Then he says, ask without hidden motive. We have a motive behind everything we ask for. Why did we just ask for what we asked for? Now, if we asked from like our soul, from our heart, from our desire to do good, then we could say that our motive basically is to expand the good through us, for us, as us, and into our life and into our family for the good of all. But if we ask for something and think, okay, why do I want to do this? Well, what will I get out of it? What am I going to get out of this if I do this? And that's actually a mindset limitation. If we think, okay, well, if I do this, will I get approval? Will I get loved? Will I get a ton of followers on my Instagram page? Will I make so much money? Like, will I just make tons of money? Okay, if we're asking, what am I going to get out of it? We're actually coming from a place of limitation, and we're not going to be able to create that energy wave, right? That we'll end up following, right? We have to create that wave first with our intention, and then we follow it. But if we're only doing something because of what we want to get out of it, we'd never create that wave. So we don't ever, that's why we struggle to create those kinds of things. Okay, if we want to do something out of limitation, out of fear, out of needing approval, out of caring what other people think about us, we never seem to get the momentum to make that thing work out. Okay, we only get the momentum, we only get that wave when it comes from our soul, from our passion, from our heart. Okay, so we ask without a hidden motive. Why do we want the experience that we want to create? Why is that? Then Jesus says to be surrounded by your answer, be enveloped by what you desire. We actually become surrounded by our answer when we get enveloped by our desire. And that is another quantum physics thing. That's quantum physics. They're finding so many names for all these spiritual experiences, right? When we get enveloped by our desire, what that means is, well, when you're enveloped in something, you're cradled in that thing, right? So we're cradled and we're embodying the feeling of what it will be like to have that outcome we want to create. So we feel it, we're imagining it, we're feeling good about it. We're thinking about how life will look when it happens. And so that creates the feeling of being enveloped. Now we're surrounded by our answer, because what happens is when we are enveloped by something, when we are cradled by something, our brain, which is a wonderful assistant, it activates the reticular activating system. And then the brain, because it's a good assistant, it's going to know what you're enveloped by, what you're feeling, what you're thinking about, where you're pouring your energy into. And the brain is going to say, yes, I shall prove you right. Yes, I'm going to show you all the ways this can happen. Yes. Now, this is when we start feeling like all the synchronicities start happening in our lives. And this is where we get inspired and we see divine instruction, and where we end up experiencing solutions from the strangest places, right? The things that move us forward. It's because we were first enveloped by our desire, and then answers started coming to us from our environment. Okay. In unity and in New Thought in general, we have this saying, there's that within that knows what to do and how to do it, and it compels us to act on what it knows. It acts through our environment as well as our own ideas. So we're surrounded by our answer. That means God, that's infinite, can appear anywhere, right? So everything in our environment becomes a potential channel for a divine activity, for divine response to what it is we want to create. Okay, so when we're surrounded by our answer, we're letting answers come to us. We're letting support come to us. And I see this is kind of interesting. There are two energies happening here. There's the energy of receiving a solution. There's the energy of giving the solution. Okay, they're equal opposites, right? But when they have resonance with each other, they attract each other and we get a new experience. Okay. And so that's another powerful thing that's happening. When we are open and excited for something, we create the receiving solution energy. And then the solution that wants to give itself finds us. So that's happening. That's kind of a big thing that we don't think about. So we want to be enveloped by our desire first. Then our answer will surround us. Then Jesus follows it up with that your gladness be full. That's the easy part. Having gratitude. We feel the new desire, the new experience we want to create as if it's already true. But we empower our own energy. We empower our lives by also having gratitude for the things that we currently have in our life, and have gratitude for the opportunity to utilize this period in time to expand our consciousness through new experiences, whatever those new experiences might be. Now, we're always creating a life. It just may not be the life that we want to create. We might be that we've ended up just being a bystander. And if we're a bystander on life, we might be on autopilot, or we might be just getting by. And we also might be in waiting mode. And we are not designed to wait any more than a ray of sun is designed to wait. Okay, the sun's not going to shine its rays down, and it's going to get to Venus and stop and be like, well, let's wait for Earth to rotate back around here. The light doesn't wait. It's not designed to wait. It just keeps shining. Okay, so if we are in bystander mode, we're waiting for things to go back to normal, waiting for somebody else to fix something, waiting for someone else to take care of things, waiting for the universe to do it, waiting for the universe to handle everything. But see, we are not created to wait. We are created to be participants in our life. We are created to be co-creators. We work with this spirit energy. And so in one of the other creative processes by Napoleon Hill, I'm going to share something Napoleon Hill recommends, and also something Wallace Wattles recommends. Napoleon Hill says we have to determine exactly what we intend to give in return, that there's no such thing as something for nothing. Okay, even Napoleon Hill was saying that back in the early 1900s. What he's talking about is something called radical generosity. And it's radical generosity is about everything available in our life that we can share. Okay, everything that's available in our life. It's not just a money thing, it's everything thing. Radical generosity is about giving beyond what we're comfortable giving, because when we give a little bit more than we're comfortable giving, we're demonstrating to the universe that we are both invested in the experience that we want to create, and that we're interested in creating this new experience. That's a big thing, being interested and invested in what we want to create. So radical generosity, it's a spiritual practice. Now, I was looking in the Bible for all the references to generosity, and there's a lot, and a lot of them seem conflicting. And so I just want to share this one thing that Jesus experienced that I thought, well, it kind of clears everything up for all the other things that conflict with each other. Jesus was watching people give an offering. And two very rich men came in. They were very wealthy, and they gave a really rich offering. But then a poor widow comes in, and she just gave 2 coins, equivalent of 2 pennies, right? And the rich men were like, oh, well, look at all the money we gave. We gave so much money because we're so rich. And she only gave 2 pennies. Jesus says she was the only one practicing radical generosity. He didn't say radical, he just said generosity. But she was the only one practicing it because she was giving from a place where she didn't have extra. Where the 2 men, they had the extra, it wasn't going to affect their life at all. Okay, they were not giving something really of value, where she was giving something of value. So that is why radical generosity is considered a spiritual practice. It has parameters, a very narrow set of parameters that keep it, radical and generous. Those are, we cannot give reluctantly. If we give resentfully, if we give like obligation, oh my God, I have to do this thing, that's not generosity. And if we give under compulsion, if somebody makes us do that, like, I don't know if you've ever asked your kids to do something and you've had to force them and then they're rolling their eyes. Not you, Adam. But when you're forcing a child to like do chores for you or do something around the house for you, and they're really are miserable that they have to do it, they resent that they have to do it, that's not radical generosity. Okay. We want to, we're not, to radical generosity is when we're giving something and it's not easy to give it. It's not easy to give it. It's because it's not coming from the extra in our life. It's not coming from the easily available, the overabundance of anything that we have, and giving with an open heart. Okay, so, you know, I mentioned radical generosity, and I know that somebody's probably thinking, well, you're just mentioning that because you're a church and you want money now, right? But actually, no, radical generosity is about every aspect of our lives. Thank you. Some of you laughed, and I appreciate that. But radical generosity is so many other things. Every moment that we show up in our life is an opportunity for radical generosity. Teaching somebody something new, maybe when you don't have the time, but they need to learn this. And so you're trying to help them do that, but you're doing it out of the love in your heart. That's radical generosity. Being tired at the end of the day, but knowing that there's somebody in your life who's not able to get out right now, and you're tired and you don't really feel like it, but you know it's the right thing to call and check on them, and maybe run to the grocery store and get a few things for them. Bring a stack of DVDs to them so they have something new to watch. Okay, that's doing that even though you're tired and you've had a long day. That's radical generosity. Noticing that maybe one of your neighbors, maybe somebody got sick and they can't mow their lawn, and you're tired and you've just taken care of your own lawn. It's like, well, I'll just go ahead and mow their lawn for them too. Okay. Spending all morning in your garden and being dirty and sweaty and tired, but thinking, you know, I know somebody wants to start their own garden too. Maybe I'll put together some little starters for them and I'll take them over there. Okay. That's also radical generosity. Fixing somebody's car for them. Radical generosity. But doing it and then feeling good about it after you did it. Okay, not, oh man, what, I had to do that. I'm tired, man, I'm going to try to hide out next time, right? But it's the feeling good after we do it. That is what makes it radical generosity. We're giving from our life. We don't use the excuse, and this is a great excuse. I've used it before. Well, when I get more time, when I get a raise, when I have a little more money, okay, when somebody wants me to give from my talents, right? I remember years ago, somebody needed me to do something and it was a dirty job. I would rather have played my guitar and sung them a song, but instead I did the dirty job anyway for them. Okay, so radical generosity is we're giving that is precious to us, that's not overflowing in our own life. This is proving to the universe how committed we are, right? To doing this next thing that is imperative. Okay, and the next thing that is imperative is doing the best with what we've got. Now that was originally put forth by Wallace Wattles, but Don Miguel Ruiz talks about it in his book, The Four Agreements. Sometimes we want to create this new experience, but it has to be easy. It has to go our way. And things have to line up first before we do it. Now, Wallace Wattles says, doing the best with what we've got right now means that we start doing what it is we intend to do, even if it's not perfect yet. We don't wait for things to get perfect. We don't wait for the environment and the money and the time to be perfect. We start doing it now, using what we have right now. Just get started. Now, I share this example a lot when I talk about this, because this example has happened to me Like I've known so many people who this is the path they've chosen. They became a healer, okay? Because back in the 90s and the early 2000s, it was a really popular path to go down, become a healer. But because they couldn't pop right into their big, beautiful healing arts center, they gave up. They gave up instead of starting small. They could get, you get a certificate in healing and then you do the next thing, right? Get one client and let them come to your house, or you go to their house, or you rent an office space in a chiropractic office for one afternoon a week, right? You start small. Okay, you don't give up because you couldn't have your big healing arts center right away. And I'm guilty of doing this too, of wanting to just jump into the bright and shiny outcome without having to do any of the work to get us from point A to point B, right? Like, sure, I want to go to Australia, but I don't want to have to fly there. I just want to be there. Okay? Doing the work, the best that we can with what we've got, that's what expands our consciousness. That's what expands our consciousness so that we include that version of ourselves, that new thing in our life. So we become us 2.0. It's doing the work because that gives us the experience. Wallace Wattles says that when we do the work, when we do our best, we outgrow our current situation. We outgrow it. So we have to move into the next best version of our life because now the previous version of our life is too small. It's too small for us, too small for what we are giving. Okay, too small for what we are giving to life. So there are no shortcuts, no shortcuts. And this is how we participate in our lives. Okay, we do the work. Okay, we feel the sun. We do our best to give and receive love from everyone. Okay, that's doing the work, and it's all good. It's all good. I caught a little bit of the Wizard of Oz recently, and I love the Wizard of Oz because it's like a metaphor, right? And all kinds of people can interpret the story differently, just however it works for them. But it's a version of the hero's journey. But I learned something yesterday about the word Oz that blew my mind. In Hebrew, the word Oz means strength, boldness, and courage. You think about the story of Dorothy. She lived in her life and she was intimidated in her own life. And then she got swept up in a tornado, okay, chaos, change. She ends up in Munchkinville and she needs help. She needs help. She wants to go home. And home is our higher self. Home is our Christ consciousness. Home is the next best version of ourselves, right? Us 5.0. So Dorothy asks for help and she has Glenda the Good Witch help her and get her started. But ultimately she needs to get to the wizard so he can help her by sending her home. Now along the way, she meets the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion. Dorothy ends up helping everybody else. This is radical generosity. You get to the end of the story, Dorothy helps the wizard, okay, to be able to get home again and to step out from behind the curtain where he's pretending to be something he's not. Dorothy helped Glenda the Good Witch by landing a house on her evil sister, right? So Glenda the Good Witch got to reign the countryside again. Dorothy did not go home until she arrived at Oz, where she was able to embody strength and boldness and courage. That's how she got herself home. She got herself home. Dorothy got herself home. We exercise our faith and we practice the creative process. Practice, practice, practice. Ask for what you really want. Phrase it as, what would I love? What would I love? Ask for what you want. Be really clear on it. Practice radical generosity and bootstrap it. Okay, that means doing the best with what we've got, with what we have. Not waiting till we get some other stuff first so it could be easy. Doing our best with what we have right here and now. That is what expands our life into the next brightest experience. And that's what makes us the next brightest version of ourselves. Okay. Us 11.0. Okay. That's us. That's how we create heaven on earth. That's how we do that. So until next time, remember, you are the activity of spirit in a body. You are the heart and you are the hands of God in this world. You are a soul designed for growth and goodness. You're a soul designed to do all of this stuff, and everything you do